日華牧師曾經喺2011年12月11日嘅主日訊息分享過，位於美國嘅丹佛機場嘅地底，其實係一個由共濟會建造嘅地下堡壘，為咗俾世上嘅精英用嚟逃避將會喺2012年發生嘅大災難。丹佛機場規模比一般現代化嘅國際機場大5倍之多，比香港嘅機場大4倍以上，而佢嘅面積比整個香港島更加大。以一個位於美國中部沙漠地區，主要用於內航線嘅機場嚟講，已經遠遠超過丹佛所需求。此外，喺丹佛機場附近有一個由泥沙堆砌成嘅大金字塔，對角線達1公里以上，比埃及嘅基薩大金字塔大14倍。咁多嘅泥沙係喺邊度嚟嘅呢？如果係來自丹佛機場嘅地庫，你可以想象機場嘅地庫嘅規模係何等嘅大。再者，喺丹佛機場有一啲神秘嘅建築物，若果觀看 Google Earth 嘅人造衛星圖，明顯已經被人為塗抹。但係無論建築物或者係停車場，巨大無比，當中有一個甚至比10個球場更加大。而丹佛機場係位於美國大陸嘅中央，左邊有落基山脈作為天然屏障，係一個建造避難地堡極為理想嘅地點。丹佛機場亦都有好多極為詭異嘅裝飾、建築、油畫，內容明顯指出丹佛機場係為咗2012年嘅大災難而造成嘅。不過唔單止美國擁有大量地下城、地堡同地下火車用作避難之用，近年中國亦都建造咗多個可提供多達幾十萬甚至上百萬人居住嘅空置城市鬼城。例如喺內蒙古、鄭州同東莞都有呢啲空置但係設備完善嘅城市。呢啲空置城市全部都已經建成，有大量單位、完善嘅道路、電力供應，附近水源充足，並且每晚街燈都係亮起，但係整個城無人居住。早喺2年前嘅2010年，英國 BBC 電視台曾經報道中國嘅鬼城，但係報道卻係聲稱中國為求維持經濟增長而建造呢啲鬼城，但係理由明顯唔合理。因為如果係為咗維持經濟增長，理應將呢一類城市建設喺本來已經有經濟價值嘅大城市旁邊，而唔會建造喺渺無人煙嘅地區。喺正常嘅情況下，當要建造一個城市，政府絕對唔會一次過建造所有嘅居住單位同基建設施，因為呢啲建設都會折舊。所以政府一定會按住人口嘅增長比例逐步建造，先至最合乎經濟效益。而節目上估計，中國當時已經最少有6400萬個空置單位，以每一個單位可以供應一個1家4口嘅基本家庭計算，6400萬個單位已經可以供應2億5600萬人居住啦。2年後嘅今日，數字可能再大幾倍，甚至數億個空置單位。可見中國現時已經絕對有能力將所有住喺沿海城市數以億計嘅人民移居入住呢啲鬼城啦，而當中足足佔咗國家2/3嘅人民。
These are satellite images of one of China's newest cities. A sprawling urban centre, complete with public buildings, hotels and apartment blocks. And this is the view from the ground. 11 a.m. on a Thursday morning and Zhengzhou CBD is deserted. Shops unoccupied, hundreds of apartments uninhabited.
All the shops in this mall are empty. Not that that worries the government, because they're simply more concerned with maintaining economic growth. And one way of achieving that is building cities like this one. The big question, though, is how much longer all these shops and properties can remain vacant.
But all around me, the construction of this metropolis goes on. And here in the southern city of Dongguan, yet another example. This is the South China Mall. toy shop owner Tian Yaogao is doing his best to keep his spirits up. But it's already after 2 p.m. and he's yet to serve a single customer.
Do you get very lonely in here?
喺呢邊看鋪咧係有啲無聊喎，客人太少啦。
But then slow days are what he's used to.
When was the last time you sold something?
琴日都有買一個，有時幾日都有嘅，兩日都有。
His shop is a rare sight in the Great Mall. The majority of this vast shopping centre remains as empty as it did when it opened 6 years ago. Back then, developers boasted that it would become the world's biggest shopping mall. With plans for 1,500 shops that would attract 70,000 shoppers a day, the mall was heralded by the New York Times as proof of China's astonishing new consumer culture. But today, the not-so-great Mall of China, as it's now known, is a glaring indication that this consumer culture has been grossly overestimated. A gondola ride through the mall lasts 20 minutes and takes you past an unsettling and almost unending vista of emptiness. For the few workers kept on to maintain this vast and now eerie complex, it's boring and lonely work. And already there are signs of creeping neglect. Even filming an empty shopping mall is a sensitive issue in China. Police arrived and ordered us out. But the mall is so vast, it was easy to slip back in unnoticed. And just like in the city of Zhangzhou, building goes on. Despite repeated requests, the mall's management refused to talk to Dateline. Daya Bay is a city carved out of agricultural land and designed for 12 million people. That ambitious forecast, though, appears to be wildly out of kilter with reality. Because, according to even China's state-controlled media, 70% of these new units remain unoccupied.
Is China experiencing a property bubble?
Absolutely. A property bubble like which I don't think we've ever seen.
Bigger than the one in the United States?
Yes, I think it'll make the United States pale into comparison. It's said that there's around 64 million empty apartments in China, and that's been
64 million?
64 million.
Gillam Tulloch is a Hong Kong-based analyst who's been investigating China's residential and commercial real estate market. He maintains that there's massive oversupply and overvaluation of properties right across China.
而喺2012年8月5日嘅主日信息，又華牧師亦都特別提及喺內蒙古鄂爾多斯市嘅康巴澤，唔單止係一個設備完善嘅空置城市鬼城，可以供應超過100萬人居住嘅現代化城市，而地點係喺大陸嘅中央，遠離海岸，南邊有大山脈作為天然嘅屏障，並且有天然嘅湖泊供應食水，係一個建造避難城市嘅極理想地點。甚至當用人造衛星鳥瞰市中心嘅建築，竟然發現有一啲同美國丹佛機場相類似嘅設計，地上同樣有一對同丹佛機場一模一樣用一雙後腳站立嘅馬匹。此外，有權杖嘅形狀，有好似係太陽、地球、月亮，甚至係 Planet X， 亦有一個好似外星人面容嘅建築物。
Kangbashi, a new Chinese city rising from the plains in the Ordos region of Inner Mongolia. From scrubland to all this in just 5 years. This fierce-looking chap, Genghis Khan, is said to have died somewhere near here, but his famous ambition appears to have been reborn in the creation of this astonishing city. I asked Communist Party official in charge of investment how many people would be housed by all these acres of new apartment blocks.
Our plan is in 10 years this will be a city for 1 million people. There will be many young professionals, white-collar workers and intellectuals.
The scale of what they're trying to achieve here is quite remarkable. Over here is a new opera house in the shape of a Mongolian hat. Next to it is a giant stadium. Just across the way is an enormous new library. And next to it, this bronze futuristic creation, it's the new museum. But here's the striking thing. The big difference between Kangbashi and pretty much any other town in China, well, there aren't many people. It's something of a ghost town. So far, just 20 to 30,000 residents, not a great deal to show for annual investment in the Ordos region of £15 billion or £500,000 for every person who's moved in. So if the government builds, will the people really come?
Up to now, we think the speed of development here has been the right speed. It's been matching the economic development of Ordos.
The Ordos story of frenetic round-the-clock construction is being replicated all over this vast country, and some fear that it represents a perilous speculative splurge.
I think Ordos is a classic example of something that's happening all over China, which is people are buying homes not necessarily to live in, but as a store of value, a place to stash their cash, and they're buying multiple homes and leaving them vacant. And so that represents a real imbalance in the housing market, and it's something that Chinese leaders need to be worried about.
At some point, these empty streets will be thronged. That's inevitable in a country whose future prosperity requires hundreds of millions more people to move from country to town. But before the lights go on, there may be huge financial losses for the owners of China's empty properties. Robert Peston, Inner Mongolia, in China.
除咗喺中國國境內有呢一啲可能為住面對 Planet X 來臨，讓上億人喺未來幾年可以移居內陸而建造嘅大量空置城市，近年中國亦都致力幫助一啲非洲國家同樣建造呢啲空置城市。點解全世界都喺度建造地下城、地堡、方舟、末日種子庫，甚至喺內陸建造能夠住上數以億人嘅空置城市呢？佢哋係唔係都為住面對2012年將會出現嘅災難早作預備呢？而日華牧師曾經分享到，美國已經建造咗可以使上千萬嘅美國人成為奴隸嘅FEMA監獄，但係而家絕大部分都係空置嘅。同樣，中國亦都建造咗可以讓上億人居住嘅空置城市，明顯都係為咗可以喺瞬間使大量人口遷徙嘅設施，而非預計慢慢咁遷移。究竟佢哋其實知道地球喺未來1-2年會發生啲乜嘢事件，而令數以億計嘅人需要遷移到另一個地方居住呢？會唔會就如 Webbot 同 Remote Viewers 所預測，喺未來短時間之內，所有沿海地區都會被洪水淹沒，將會有20億人要遷移入內陸而作出準備呢？此外，當一啲島嶼國家，例如日本同紐西蘭，近年喺經過地震同海嘯嘅大災難，甚至核災之後，對於重建同救災嘅工作態度都係非常被動同緩慢，甚至可以話係甚不人道。其實 係唔係呢啲島國嘅政府都知道喺短期嘅未來，所有島國都會被洪水所淹沒，所以根本唔會計劃作出長遠嘅救援呢？另外喺2012年3月4日嘅主日信息 Webbot 2月6日號外篇裏面，日華牧師曾經為大家分享過，當呢啲災難大幅度出現之先，世上嘅精英們一定會以發動第3次世界大戰，並且係一次全面性嘅核戰，作為佢哋走進地堡避難嘅藉口。目的其實係為 Planet X 嘅來臨作最後一步嘅預備。